Mitt Romney offers an unexpected turn in the RBG story Alyssa Milano calls the police after she calls to defund the police. Bloomberg may be paying off the fines of several people accused of felonies to bribe them to vote in a certain way, and DeVos is under investigation for potentially violating the Hatch Act, even though most people agree she probably shouldn't have a job. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to, and I just teased Stephen Ignoramus. I don't know if any of my alerts show up on the Instagram live feed when it happens there, but I just teased him over there, and it popped up over the top of the Instagram live feed. But we got to get to some stuff. There is some stuff to get to. But before we get to any of the stuff here, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as the Daily Ignoramus, Contemporary, the Freckles of Brit Show. We also carry the Generational Gap on their new night. Check them out later on tonight. The Breakdown with Birkenhoff. Check him out rather. Just a little bit. It'll be probably a little bit before Stephen Ignoramus gets off the air. And check out the R-Rated Conservative. He'll be off for the rest of the week, but check him out when he is back in studio next Monday. It's a great time. We have a bunch of great creators over here, and we've got some swag. And hey, if you pick up some of that swag, you'll help us support great creators as well. All right, let's get into the stocks. Let's get the live chat up here so I can see what you guys are saying. From Google's stock app. That's where we're going to start. Looks like we had a little bit of a downswing back into an upswing. So it's volatile right now. You wouldn't think anything less going into an election year, but it is definitely volatile right now. So definitely some stuff to watch here. Looks like we closed a 0.5% up, 148 points up. That's over on the Dow. The other markets, of course, had a different result here, and we'll talk a bit about them from IBD. But we've got an upswing, and there's this equal chance that we'll see a downswing tomorrow. So let's see what we've got going on from there. No, I will not extend my access. Alright. Dow Jones futures jump 200 points as Nike soars 13% on earnings. Tesla dives on battery day. From Scott Latonin. Dow futures jumped 200 points while S&P 500 futures were also higher. NASDAQ futures were lower before the stock market opened Wednesday. Tesla dove early Wednesday following its Battery Day event. Dow Jones leader Nike soared 13% on earnings. The tech-heavy NASDAQ outperformed with a 1.7% gain Tuesday, snapping back from Monday's loss. The S&P 500 rose 1.05%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average followed up with a 0.5% rise. Among the stock market leaders, well, let's just look at the same names that we've been looking at every time we do this. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, PayPal, and Tesla. Tesla skidded. Other than that, everybody else went up. Ahead of the company's highly anticipated Battery Day, shares dove another 5% early Wednesday. Stocks near buy zones are Dow Jones leader Amgen and Beyond Meat. No. No Beyond Meat. No. God didn't want us to eat animals. He wouldn't make them taste so good. After the close Tuesday, KB Home, Dow Jones retailer Nike, and Stitch Fix reported earnings late Tuesday ahead of the open. KB Home fell more than 1%, Nike soared 13%, and Stitch Fix dove 15%. So people are building, folks. They're going out working out and they're building homes. Nike, PayPal, and Tesla are IBD leaderboard stocks. A little bit of futures news. Early Wednesday, Dow Jones futures rose 0.6% versus fair value, while S&P 500 futures were up 0.1%. NASDAQ 100 futures fell 0.5% versus fair value. Remember, overnight action in Dow Jones futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. And that's a lot of techie talk for the stock, so we're going to hold off on that and move on into the next one here from CNBC, a counterpoint. A little bit of live updates starting off here. From CNBC, mortgage demand up 25% year over year. Data compiled by the Mortgage Bankers Association showed mortgage applications to buy a home are up 25% from last year's levels as buyers flood the market despite rising prices. Lawrence Yun, chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, pointed to the changing trends stemming from the coronavirus pandemic for this surge. Didn't I tell you that? I told you that was going to happen. People are going to start leaving the city, and that's why I'm getting that license, because I want to get in on that shit. I want people to look around their city, realize, fuck this, and I want to sell them that house. Thank you, Fred Imbert and Diana Olick. House passes bill to avoid the government shutdown, so we do have another shutdown looming, and I'll probably talk a bit about that tomorrow because we've got a loaded news day today. But yeah, we got another shutdown looming, but it looks like the House has passed their budget or their omnibus. Wonder how much pork is sitting in that one. Nancy Pelosi said the bill includes $8 billion in assistance for school children and family nutrition. It also increases accountability for farm aid money to prevent that money from getting to oil companies, something Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had criticized in a bill released Monday. Overall, the bill would keep the government funded until December 11th. Make a fucking budget, idiots. I'm sure that because it's a Nancy Pelosi bill, there are also provisions to end voter ID permanently, forever, and the state and local tax provisions, and every other little bit of pork and pet project that Nancy Pelosi wants in there because, hey, why not? Why not hold the American workers hostage, the federal government workers hostage? She's held everybody else hostage at this point to get her wish list. Why not hold them hostage going into an election here, too? Tesla shares under pressure following Battery Day. Tesla shares slid more than 5% during pre-market trading on Wednesday, one day after the company's widely anticipated Battery Day. At the event, which followed the company's annual shareholders meeting, CEO Elon Musk announced battery developments that would lead to better and cheaper cars. But some on the street were left disappointed after Musk said it would be 3 years before the company could make a $25,000 vehicle. So they're still sticking to making stuff that's too expensive for everybody else to afford. Nike pops after earning beat. A surge in online sales fueled a beat on top and bottom lines for Nike in the company's fiscal first quarter, sending the stock soaring 12% in pre-market trading. The company reported 95 cents in earnings per share, easily beating the 47 expected by analysts surveyed by Refinitiv. Revenue was more than 15% higher than expected as online sales jumped 82% and the women's apparel line tripled. And yet, they go through and they kneel down and they suck Kaepernick's dick. So, they're still not getting my money. Last one here, Johnson & Johnson enters a late-stage vaccine trial. So, the coronavirus vaccine is still coming. Watch for it because you may get forced to take it. Alright, that's what we have for the stocks here. Let's get into the news. Starting with Politico. Top story, according to the title from this, Romney backs vote on Supreme Court nominee, clearing the way for Trump. And I actually want to look into this a little bit deeper because I pointed out every outlet out there has said Romney backs the idea of holding the vote. But as far as I could tell from everything that was floating around on Twitter yesterday, he never actually said that he supports voting yes. He just says he supports holding the vote. So let's see what Burgess Everett over at Politico has to say. Senator Mitt Romney said Tuesday he would support a floor vote to replace the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, essentially clinching consideration of President Donald Trump's nominee this year despite the impending election. Just 2 Republican senators have asked for the party to put the brakes on the confirmation, and with a 53-seat majority, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell now has the votes he needs to move forward with a nominee. The move is a blow to Democrats' hopes of keeping the seat vacant for the next president, potentially their nominee, Joe Biden. But Romney said he had no qualms about Democrats' charges of hypocrisy or about strengthening the high court's conservative majority. Yeah. Mitt Romney has no qualms about hypocrisy. Imagine that. Yeah, my liberal friends have, over many decades, gotten very used to the idea of having a liberal court. But that's not written in the stars. The Utah Republican, who used to be a Massachusetts Republican, who used to be a Missouri Republican, who once again at one point used to be a Utah Republican, told reporters after this decision he called it appropriate for a nation that is center-right to have a court which reflects center-right points of view. Given his criticisms of Trump and a vote to remove him from office during the impeachment trial earlier this year, there was some question about where Romney would come down on a Supreme Court nominee. And though Romney's position doesn't mean Trump's yet-to-be-named nominee will definitely have the votes to be confirmed, it doesn't mean McConnell and Trump can move forward without delay. Trump tweeted Tuesday that he plans to announce his nominee on Saturday. Amy Coney Barrett and Barbara Lagoa are seen as the top contenders. Why does this seem like another episode of The fucking Apprentice? It's the reality show. Who's going to be fired? Who's going to be hired? A meeting Trump had with Barrett on Monday went very well, according to a Republican close to the White House. Trump thought she was very smart, very prepared, held herself with lots of dignity and pose, the person said. Trump plans to meet with Lagoa on Friday. Senate Republicans on the Judiciary Committee met midday Tuesday to discuss different scenarios for how quickly they can process the nominee. No final decision was made, but a hearing could take place starting the week of October 12th, according to a GOP aide. Around the same time as Trump's tweet, Republicans also decided to wait to announce their schedule until Trump makes his pick, said Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. So, yeah, once again, Romney supports getting the vote on the floor. That does not mean that the nominee is clinched. Do keep that in mind as we go forward, and Romney could still pull the big Romney and get that floor vote down there and still vote it down. He could still do that. But he does support having the vote on the floor. Pay attention to the way that the words are done, because a lot of the MAGA people are sitting here celebrating. Yeah, Romney! Romney, he's going to save the day. He's going to confirm the justice. And a lot of progressives are saying, no, Romney! He's going to confirm the justice. It's going to be the end of abortion and women in the kitchen. Which, given what they said to him about binders full of women at the time that he was running for president, that actually doesn't surprise me in the least, but he's still Romney. We still don't know where he's going to land on the confirmation vote, just on the vote to get the vote to the floor. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Which tweet do I have up here? All right, I got one here from Marco Rubio. Remember when Democrat leaders were demanding more briefings on election interference? Senate Intel Committee scheduled one day with Bill Evanina, who leads our nation's election security efforts. Senator Schumer had a temper tantrum over Supreme Court and used procedural move to cancel it. So this was a little bit confusing, but I know that the Senate's out here, well, tell us how they're going to interfere with the election coming up this time through, and I could not find anything mainstream green check. The closest thing I could find was from the Washington Free Beacon, which take with a grain of salt because that does not fall under NewsGuard, but still I wanted to make sure that we knew that this was happening. Senate Dems block Intel hearing on Chinese-Russian election interference. From Adam Credo. Senate Democrats blocked the Chamber's Intelligence Committee from receiving a classified brief on efforts by Russia, China, and Iran to interfere in the 2020 presidential election. Bill Evanina, the nation's top election security official and director of the National Counterintelligence and Security Center, was scheduled to give a briefing Tuesday to members of the Senate's Select Committee on Intelligence. That closed-door hearing, however, was canceled by the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who reportedly stopped the briefing due to frustration over GOP efforts to confirm the new Supreme Court justice following the death of liberal stalwart Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Because the Senate Republicans have no respect for the institution, we won't have business as usual here in the Senate, Schumer said on the Senate floor. Evanina earlier this year identified both China and Russia as waging active campaigns to sway the November election. In addition to Beijing and Moscow, Evanina said in an August security alert that Iran seeks to undermine U.S. democratic institutions, President Trump, and to divide the country in advance of the 2020 elections. Each of these countries has enlisted hackers and the others in a coordinated campaign to influence the election's outcome. This includes creating scores of fake social media accounts meant to spread propaganda about the coronavirus pandemic and President Trump. Their hope is to sow further discord among American public and in the lead up to the election. So, once again, I do have to ask the question. Can you really sway an election? Can you really change the election with a few $100s worth of Facebook ads and Facebook profiles? Because I got a couple $100 that wants to see every progressive taken out of office and tried for sedition. If that's all it takes is a few $100, first off, why is Bloomberg sinking so much money into this? We'll talk a bit about that later on. But yeah, if that's all it takes is a few $100, hey, I'll eat ramen for a little while. All right, let's keep going here. From the New York Post, Dems' fury over the next SCOTUS pick mainly betrays tremendous historical ignorance. So I want to just touch on this real briefly because it's, I guess, what we've been hearing forever, at least for the past couple days. But I want to touch on this because it will give us a point to discuss what we're seeing coming out of the Senate and the House of Representatives. It's 2020, so naturally a nation already beset by bitter political divisions now faces yet another Supreme Court confirmation fight, thanks to the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg at 87. Ginsburg had a landmark legal career even before moving to the Supreme Court, where she served 27 years until her death Friday. She was a feminist hero who greatly advanced legal recognition of women's rights. Now the prospect of her replacement will be chosen by a Republican president, and Senate has left even more exercise than the right was when President Barack Obama nominated a moderate liberal, Judge Merrick Garland, to fill the seat of a conservative, great Antonin Scalia. If President Trump and Senate Republicans go ahead and fill the seat after the GOP refused to give Garland a hearing in 2016, Democrats say they'll respect no limits if they win control of the White House and Congress in November. Nothing is off the table next year, thunders Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer. Problem is, Democrats were already talking about packing the high court by expanding it with up to 6 new justices of their choosing. More. They've been looking at packing the Senate itself by admitting new states, D.C., Puerto Rico, and even Samoa, to the Union to create a permanent Democrat majority. Are Democrats willing to swear off such moves if the GOP opts to not fill this vacancy? How about their talk of ending the Senate filibuster completely? Do any of them even care to apologize for how they treated now Justice Brett Kavanaugh in his confirmation? Keep all that in mind when you hear the media claim that norms are being violated. And yes, that's all the farther I want to get into this because there are the points that I wanted to touch on right there. So yes, no, the Democrats in the Senate and even in the House of Representatives and the presidential candidates have all blown their fucking wad already. We're going to pack that court because we need to overcome what Donald Trump did with Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. We're just going to pack that court. They've been saying that for 3 fucking years. They have been saying that since Neil Gorsuch was confirmed. They've been saying that since Trump was inaugurated. So they blew their wad on that one already. That's not news. That's par for the course at this point. D.C. statehood, that's been going on once again. Since they started, new California states, anything to try and manipulate the Senate back in their favor, that's been going on since Trump was inaugurated. Hell, that's been going on since Barack was in office. So, where's the news? It's on top of that, Don Lemon. We're going to burn the system down. We're going to burn your cities. What have you been doing since fucking June? Idiots. It was more than that, wasn't it? It was May. Yeah, what have you been doing since May? This is not new. Alright, but yeah, they keep throwing out there, they keep threatening to do stuff that they're already threatening to do. None of this has anything to do with the Supreme Court justice. They're just trying to use this as a scare tactic to try and keep Mitch McConnell from operating. Now, as far as territories go, I don't know how territories get admitted to the Union. I will come up and give ignorance to that one. I'll look into that for tomorrow. But with DC statehood, that's going to run into problems going into the Supreme Court to begin with, because it is in the Constitution that DC remain a federal district to keep it from being beholden from any state. That's in the Constitution. And you can't really cede the land back to Maryland and Virginia either, because in order to keep DC from being beholden to any state, then they actually have to have a functioning city around them to make sure that their water and their power needs are met, and their infrastructure needs and everything else. They do need to remain a federal district in order to stay beholden to the Constitution. So, yeah, none of this really works that well for them. Alright, let's keep going here. Oh yeah, we have video. So, I took video of another meltdown here of another progressive that fears that abortion is going to be gone the way of the dinosaur. For those of you over on Instagram, if you follow the link in my profile, that will bring you up to the YouTube channel where you can watch this video. Unfortunately, I can't transmit it to Instagram, but we'll have a listen to this one here. I do want to point out tweets by Brits, Salted a Taste, I should say, replied to this, which was what brought this to my attention. She would just, or if she would just focus on her sandwich making skills, she wouldn't have time for these kinds of outbursts. Wow, I can read this morning. All right, let's go ahead with this. Let's turn your ears on.
Fuck off to people that are pro-life. I fucking hate you. Why can't women have abortions? I just saw a fucking pro-life sign driving down the fucking road having a mental breakdown. And I just want to say, all you people you're so fucking stupid. Ugh! This sign says, I could feel pain before I was born. It's a baby. Bitch, I was born and I can feel pain. I wish I wasn't fucking born. Stop bringing these fucking kids into horrible fucking homes just because you're pro-birth. You're fucking stupid. And I wish I had been fucking aborted. Oh my god.
So, I'm pro-life on principle because killing a baby is wrong, but I want the government out of it because the government fucking sucks at everything. But, you know what? I have to agree with her at the end. I kind of wish she'd been aborted too. That's going to be the one that gets clipped by Holt and Thick Zeke. Let's keep going. From CNN's Don Lemon, Backtracks, yeah, that made sense. From Fox News, CNN's Don Lemon backtracks call to blow up the entire system. I was taken out of context. From Joseph A. Wolfstone. Just in case, because Fox News likes to fucking autoplay bullshit. Let's shut that off for you. CNN anchor Don Lemon appeared to be backtracking remarks he made about blowing up the entire system, insisting his critics had taken him out of context. On Monday night, during his nightly handoff with primetime colleague Chris Cuomo, Lemon floated a solution for the masses who are disenfranchised by both parties. We're going to have to blow up the entire system, Lemon said. I don't know about that, Cuomo reacted, who argued that Americans just have to vote. You know what we're going to have to do. You're going to have to get rid of the Electoral College, Lemon continued, because the minority in this country get to decide who our judges are and who our president is. Is that fair? You need a constitutional amendment to do that, Cuomo replied. And if Joe Biden wins, Democrats can stack the courts and do that amendment and get it passed, Lemon shot back. On Tuesday night, however, Lemon sang a different tune, suggesting his previous remarks were made in jest. I woke up and I saw all these headlines. Don Lemon is calling for the abolishing of the Electoral College. But I was responding to you when I said we need people with integrity, Lemon exclaimed as he attempted to explain his remarks to Cuomo. I was responding to you when you said, we want people with integrity in office. And I said, well, then we've got to blow up the whole system, right? And I said, here's what Democrats can do. That's the danger. They can stack the court. But all of a sudden, I'm calling for abolishing the Electoral College, and that I'm a Democrat because I said we. I mean the American people. But listen, you forgot something very fundamental. A black guy can't say that he wants to blow anything up right now, Cuomo joked. People are waiting for you to come and destroy their houses with people like me, your kooky white friends, so you can't say you want to blow stuff up because you're playing into the narrative. What's wrong with you, Lemon Chucked? Yeah, this is pretty much just two CNN anchors jerking each other off for all this. But I wanted to read this one because I thought it was just a little bit entertaining that now he's trying to walk back the remarks that he made. Let's keep going. From CNN, Louisville police officer defends his role in Breonna Taylor case in mass email to the department. From Taylor Romine, Elizabeth Joseph, and Eric Levinson. One of the Louisville Metro police officers who fired into Breonna Taylor's home the night she was killed sent a mass email to the department early Tuesday defending his actions and slamming the city's leadership, his attorney confirmed to CNN. In the email, Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly told his colleagues they do not deserve to be in this position, where thugs are allowed to get into your face and yell, curse, and degrade you. And if officers make the mistake, during the most stressful times in your career, the department and FBI go after your civil rights in violation. He also defended his actions the night Taylor, a 26-year-old EMT, citation needed please, was fatally shot by police. Mattingly and two other officers broke down the door to her apartment while executing a late-night, no-knock warrant in narcotics investigation on March 13th. Mattingly was shot by Taylor's boyfriend, and then police opened fire, killing Taylor. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron's office is investigating possible criminal charges against the officers involved, and an announcement is expected sometime soon. The city of Louisville and its police department have declared a state of emergency ahead of the expected decision. Regardless of the outcome today or Wednesday, I know we did the legal, moral, and ethical thing that night. It's sad how good guys are demonized and criminals are canonized, Mattingly wrote. Further, Mattingly criticized city and police leaders, who he mocked as pencil pushers. I'm proof they do not care about you or your family, and you are replaceable, he wrote. The email, sent just after 2 a.m., was first made public by Vice News correspondent Robert Aram Ferdman. Yeah, Vice. The most objective place in the world. So, and I don't know what's going to happen out of Louisville at this point because there is enough mob pressure that the Louisville prosecutor might just roll over, in spite of the fact that it would be completely unconstitutional for him to do that, given the facts that we have sitting in front of the case. Now, yes, after the new law was passed, any time that somebody does this afterwards may be subject to criminal charges, but you can't go back and retroactively charge somebody for a law that wasn't in place when they committed the action. And that's the way that I see the story, but once again, there are facts to this case that were not released with the big release dump that happened 3 weeks ago. There are still some things that are classified for that, which are staying with the prosecutor. So, we have yet to see if a charge has been handed down, but I know that the city of Louisville is boarding up and getting ready for violence no matter what the outcome is. And that sounds like a lot of justice right there. Let's keep going. From the Daily Wire. Tucker Carlson airs never-before-seen footage from Kyle Rittenhouse shooting in Kenosha. From Daily Wire News. Fox News host Tucker Carlson aired supposedly never-before-seen footage on Tuesday night from the shootings in Kenosha, Wisconsin last month that involved 17-year-old Rittenhouse. The footage shows Rittenhouse running with a fire extinguisher. Rosenbaum appears to chase after Rittenhouse when a single gunshot is fired. Fox News reported a surrounded Rittenhouse squeezed 4 shots in Rosenbaum's direction. Seconds later, 3 additional shots were reportedly fired by an unknown soldier. One bullet grazed Rosenbaum's head, while another penetrated his right groin, his left thigh, and his back. And Jason Rantz over on KTTH Radio provided us with the video clip for this. which is probably going to get this video age restricted too, but hey, as much riot footage as we've covered on this show, I'm used to that at this point. Just sign into YouTube, because everybody else has. Let's have a listen. Let's let you have a listen too, actually.
There was an enormous amount of video shot that night in Kenosha, mostly by citizens with iPhones. We have video of all three of the shootings Kyle Rittenhouse was involved in. Critically, we also have video of the moments that preceded those shootings, the context. We've already showed some of that video to you, but tonight we're going to show you more. New, never-before-seen footage of Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha. Now, what you're about to see comes from the nonprofit Fight Back that was formed by Rittenhouse's defamation attorney, Lynn Wood. For the last month, there's been an enormous amount of propaganda surrounding this case, and virtually all of it has come from the left. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, for example, denounced Kyle Rittenhouse as, quote, a white supremacist domestic terrorist. Now, there's no evidence that is true. There never has been any evidence. It's a lie, so far as we know. So the question is, what else are they lying about? Tonight, we're going to show you context from that night, and we're going to let you decide what happened. Here to begin is video of Kyle Rittenhouse hours before the shootings took place. Now, again, what you're about to see comes from a group, a nonprofit, founded by Kyle Rittenhouse's defamation attorney. Here it is.
To prevent the total destruction of their community, Good Samaritans united to guard local businesses. Among them was 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse.
So people are getting injured. And our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
Earlier that day, Rittenhouse volunteered to remove graffiti from Ruther Central High School in Kenosha.
That was the day, and then night came. Kyle Rittenhouse found himself in downtown Kenosha in the middle of a riot. He wound up face-to-face with a convicted child molester called Joseph Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was there protesting on behalf of BLM. Apparently, he was committing arson. What happened next between the two of them is graphic, but if you want to understand how Joseph Rosenbaum died that night, it's important to see it. Here it is.
Joseph Rosenbaum is seen starting more fires. Around that same time, Kyle Rittenhouse is spotted running with a fire extinguisher. With his face concealed, Rosenbaum emerges, chasing after Rittenhouse. A single gunshot is fired by a protester, identified as Alexander Blaine. From this angle, we see the muzzle flash of Blaine's handgun. Seconds later, Kyle Rittenhouse is pinned between parked cars. Directly in front of Rittenhouse, armed with bats and other weapons, a mob is forming a barricade. With no way out and no way to know who fired that shot, Rittenhouse turns to face Rosenbaum. Kyle Rittenhouse fired 4 shots. Seconds later, 3 additional shots are fired by an unknown shooter. One bullet grazed Joseph Rosenbaum's head. Another penetrated his right groin, his left thigh, and his back. With a total of 8 shots fired, it remains unclear that all 4 of Rosenbaum's wounds were caused by Rittenhouse.
All right, so that was the additional footage that came along with that. I'm sorry that ran a little bit long, but there was propaganda to go along with it. Honestly, that's... Look, Linwood is probably going to have a really, really easy time with this one, but we still have to see, because just like in the Louisville case, we're also looking at the fact that there is a mob demand that their demands be met, which includes putting this kid in prison for life, if not giving him the death penalty, if not letting him out to let the mob administer the death penalty for the state. So, I actually don't know what's going to come off with this one, but we'll see what the attorneys have to say. Let's get the ears off, because once again, Fox News loves to do autoplay bullshit, and let's keep going. From NBC4 New York, DOJ designates New York City as an anarchist jurisdiction. This came to us from Elaine over in the Discord. If you want to shape the show, join the Discord. The link is in the description of all the major platforms. Join the Discord, and you can leave articles for me to read and review as well. Does not appear that there is an author given to this one, but let's read what they have to say. New York City is one of the 3 places that have permitted violence and destruction of property to persist and have refused to undertake reasonable measures to counteract criminal activities, leading to its designation as an anarchist jurisdiction, the Justice Department said on Monday. Rather than idle words, the designation has potential financial consequences. President Trump issued a memo earlier this month directing the DOJ to identify jurisdictions that, in its view, were not enforcing the law appropriately. Designated cities could lose their federal funding. I mean, a lot of people need to lose a lot of funding because the federal government was never meant to fund that much. It was never meant for that much. But hey, who am I but a lowly federalist? And the sole one left in the world, from what I'm seeing from the other 4 major parties. I understand the politics, but when you try to manipulate and distort government agencies to play politics, which is what the Trump administration has done from day one, this is more of the same, Cuomo said in a conference with reporters. The president can't supersede the law, and I'm going to make those funds basically discretionary funds, which is what he would have to do. If they actually do this, we will challenge it legally, and they will lose once again, he added. Trump's September 2nd order gives the director of the Office of Management and Budget 30 days to issue guidance to federal agencies on restricting eligibility for federal grants for the cities on the DOJ list. Such grants make up a huge portion of NYC's already strapped annual budget, more than $7 billion in fiscal 2021 alone, or 7.5% of the city's projected total revenue. In justifying its decision, the DOJ cited New York's rising gun violence, cuts to the NYPD's budget, and moves by various district attorneys not to prosecute charges related to protests earlier this summer. Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington were also hit with the same designation. I want to sit and watch this happen. I want to watch the court challenges. I would love to see challenges to the federal government's ability to fund cities. Because if we take away that, then the cities will have to stand on their own. And we won't need a federal government anymore. Win-win! We cannot allow federal tax dollars to be wasted when the safety of the citizenry hangs in the balance. It is my hope that the cities identified by the Department of Justice will reverse course and become serious about performing the basic function of government and stop protecting their own citizens, Attorney General William Barr said in a statement. And yes, no, that's the other side of it too. If you look at this, you look at what's happening. These people wouldn't take any help from the federal government as far as policing went. They insisted that they knew best while people were burning these cities down. Now, we didn't see as much of it out of New York as we did out of places like Seattle and Portland and even Chicago. We didn't see near as much of it out of New York. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. That just meant that the news agencies decided that it wasn't feasible to report on it at the time. But if they wouldn't accept the federal help from federal policing, then they sure as hell don't need the federal money. So, I'd be interested to see the cases and the hearings. I do want to see this get challenged and see where the courts fall on it. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be entertaining, and I think it's going to reshape the role of the federal government in the states and the localities. So, we'll watch that one here. I've got one from the Daily Mail archived because they don't let you read anything if you have an ad blocker on, and my ad blocker is comfortably on. Defund the police activist Alyssa Milano calls 911, sparking massive police presence in her quiet California neighborhood, claiming an armed gunman was on her property, but it was really a teen shooting at squirrels with an air gun. Actress and Defund the Police activist Alyssa Milano was quick to call cops when she believed an armed gunman was on her Bell Canyon property on Sunday morning. The call ignited a response that includes 7 Ventura County Sheriff's vehicles, 1 K-9 unit, a police helicopter, and 1 LA Fire Department team that sat down the street on standby. DailyMail.com has obtained an exclusive photo showing the first responders coming to the aid of the 47-year-old at her 5-bed, 6-bath, 8,000 square foot, $2.5 million home in the upscale gated community that sits just 20 minutes north of Los Angeles. I thought $2.5 million was just an average 3-bedroom home in Los Angeles. A neighbor tells DailyMail.com, "We first noticed the helicopter circling overhead, very low, and we knew something was going on. It's usually such a quiet community. And then we saw all the police cars parked in front of Alyssa's home. They had their guns at the ready and seemed very serious." There's some of the photos of it. Yep, they got the shotgun out, blocking everything off, blocking the gate. A video that's not going to play because we're on an archived site. As the morning progressed, residents received updates from law enforcement. Alyssa and her talent agent husband, David Bugliari, 39, they said, had dialed 911 when they heard what they believed to be gunshots on their 1.39-acre property. They allegedly told the emergency hotline the sound scared their dogs and made them feel like the gunman was nearby. A description was given of a suspect to the officers who was male, 40 years old, with a long rifle. The two, who have been married since 2009, were also concerned that it may be someone stalking the former Charmed and Who's the Boss star. So, yeah, we went with all the photos off of this. And it turned out to be a kid shooting squirrels. Great use of taxpayer funds in California. Great use of taxpayer funds down there. That is great. And yes, once again, the woman who says, defund the police, end the police, call the police. I love this timeline. Don't ever change this timeline. Let's not go back to the prime timeline, because we get so much entertainment from this. Even though I know tomorrow when something stupid happens, I'll be complaining about this timeline again. Alright, let's keep going from the Blaze. Seattle City Council overrides mayor's veto to defund the police. Up to 100 officers to be cut. This is from Carlos Garcia. The Seattle City Council voted to override Mayor Jenny Durkin's 3 vetoes of the bill to divert funds from the police department into social programs. The council voted 7-2 in a vote on Tuesday after 3 hours of discussion that included the consideration of a compromise bill that was ultimately rejected. Durkin vetoed the police budget bill in August, but said in a statement that she did so because the city council had not consulted with her office to arrive at a defunding bill that they could agree on. The veto cuts $3.4 million from the department's $400 million budget. Seattle has about 1,400 police officers, and the bill would cause 100 police positions to be cut by the attrition. The cut to the police department's funding falls far short of the demands from Black Lives Matter protesters, who have called for 50% of the funds to be diverted to social programs. Kshama Sawant, the far-left socialist member of the city council, had voted against the bill because it didn't go far enough to meet the demands of BLM protesters. Seattle Mayor Durkin remained hostile to defunding the police, said Sawant in a tweet. Democratic council members completely failed to keep their public promises of 50% defunding in the summer budget vote, furthermore approved by an austerity budget after having promised anti-austerity. The previous vote of the city council to cut police funding also led to the resignation of former police chief Carmen Best, who said she felt as if the measures were motivated by an animus towards me specifically. While many supporters of the protester praised the modest cuts to the police department, some, like local conservative talk show host Kason Rance, condemned the move. Seattle City Council voted to override the mayor's veto of the dangerous defund the police bill, tweeted Rance. This council will always side with socialists and criminal activities, he added. They are the enemy of the same constituents because they don't respect us. And yes, once again, you're going to start seeing all these people start fleeing these cities and taking their tax revenue with them and realizing that there are other places out there that have lower taxes that they can run to. What do you think is going to happen when they go to these places and find out that they've been being stiffed on taxes forever? I don't know. Let's keep going. Seattle pays X Pimp $150,000 to offer alternatives to policing, from Lee Brown. Yes, that actually says what that says up there. Seattle now has on its payroll a convicted pimp who once vowed to go to war with the city, a $150,000 street czar whose mission is to come up with alternatives to policing, reports say. Andre Taylor, who appeared in the documentary American Pimp about his life as Gorgeous Dre, is getting $12,500 per month for a year, along with an office in Seattle's Municipal Tower, according to the contract published by Publicola. It comes just a year after his organization, Not This Time, was paid $100,000 to sponsor a speaker series that was called Conversations with the Streets. Taylor led one of the first rallies in Seattle after the police custody death of George Floyd, the Seattle Times said. He was later accused of trying to get millions from the city for militants who set up the controversial police-free Capitol Hill Occupies protest zone. The Seattle Times said, "Don't just leave with something," he told activists in a meeting caught in a recording, telling them to demand $2 million to exit the site of much of the city's worst violence this year, the report said. They ignored his advice, the paper said, with one saying the money grab felt off. Some of these militants then accused him of betraying them, too, when he appeared at a press conference with the mayor to tell them to shut down shop the same day he was given his six-figure contract, the paper said. The new street czar justified the contract to Cuomo News as a payment for his particular genius in a particular area, saying he can talk to gang members, pimps, and prostitutes who won't sit down with anybody else. Black people, as a whole, have not been in a place to be compensated for their genius or their work for a very long time, he said. Not too many people can go to gangbangers in their territory and then go talk to the government in their territory, Taylor also told the Seattle Times. Taylor first found notoriety in Vegas, where he was sentenced in 2000 to more than 5 years in prison, serving a little more than a year, the Seattle Times previously noted. Some of the girls he pimped were underage, according to the court reports in the Las Vegas Sun. "I was born from the streets. I came out of the deep darkness," he said in a YouTube video earlier this year, bragging how he had children with some of the women who were with me when he was a pimp. Yeah, this sounds like a great use of money right here. I wonder what he has on them at this point, and I wonder what he provided to these people. That they can just suddenly find $150,000 to just pay this guy an advisement fee. I wonder what he's bilking out of them. But, yes, you read that correctly. Seattle is paying X Pimp $150,000 for alternatives to policing. Which we know what the alternatives that they want are, to have Antifa come out and be the police, but hey. Alright, from Fox News, Florida high school bans football team's police flag after critics deem it openly racist. From Lucas Manfredi. A thin blue line flag has been banned by a local high school in Neptune Beach, Florida, following a series of complaints that circulated on social media, according to a report by News4Jax. According to the outlet, the Fletcher High School football team started carrying the pro-law enforcement flag this year as a way for one of its players, Kalen Lavender, to honor his late father, Corporal Andy Lavender. Mr. Lavender was a Jacksonville Beach police officer who unexpectedly passed away on in August of 2019 after 29 years in law enforcement and was active in sports programs. He was one of a kind, his wife, Lori Lavender, told News4Jax, and he's very much missed and loved. The team's use of the symbol received swift backlash online, with some calling the move openly racist. Yes, supporting the police is openly racist. Absolutely. Debate over the flag's meaning has come into question amid widespread protests against police brutality sparked by the death of George Floyd back in May. The flag is known as a pro-law enforcement symbol. As a result of the backlash, Fletcher High School's principal, Dean Ledford, reportedly issued a statement announcing the flag would be banned. The flag, which is known as the Thin Blue Line flag, has different meanings for different people, and rather than representing the young man's personal feelings, it was being interpreted as a political statement of the team and the high school, Ledford said. In consultation with the coaches, I determined that the act of using this flag in this personal way, while in the context of the football game, opening ceremony, could easily be construed as representing a political position of our school and not just the personal feelings of the student and his teammates. Therefore, I have determined that it is no longer appropriate to continue. Yeah, let's see if this one gets overturned. I know that they did it in Little Miami over in Ohio, but Florida is a little bit different, and it's a capital. No, Jacksonville isn't a capital city, is it? Tallahassee would be the capital city. I don't know what the politics of Jacksonville are. I know capital cities tend to be left because that's where people move so they can more easily protest the government, but yeah. We'll see what happens off of this. From NBC News. Wells Fargo CEO ruffles feathers with comments about diverse talent. From Reuters, apparently, so I don't get an author on this one. Wells Fargo and co-chief executive Charles Scharf exasperated some black employees in a Zoom meeting this summer when he reiterated that that the bank had trouble reaching diversity goals because there were not enough qualified minority talent. Two participants told Reuters, "Oh, that was probably not the right thing to say." I don't think we have to go any further into this article because that's probably... I'm pretty sure that if Stephen Ignoramus had read the same article, he would be saying, "Dude, based." Yeah. He also made the assertion in a company-wide memo June 18th that announced diversity initiatives as nationwide protests broke out following the death of George Floyd, an unarmed African-American man in police custody. While it might sound like an excuse, the unfortunate reality is that there is a very limited pool of black talent to recruit from, Scharf said in the memo, seen by Reuters. Yeah, that's not going to make a lot of people really happy. Scharf spent more time listening than speaking during the 90-minute call, which he initiated, and has not been previously reported. His comments about black talent rubbed some of the attendees the wrong way, according to the two employees who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they feared repercussions. Yeah, this Scharf dude is going to get some repercussions, definitely. Not all attendees recalled being offended. The meeting was incredibly constructive. I walked away being incredibly surprised at how genuine and sincere he is, said Alex David, a president of the Black African American Connections Team Member Network. That's a mouthful. But several black senior executives across the corporate America said they are frustrated by claims of a talent shortage and called the refrain a major reason that companies have struggled to add enough racial and ethnic diversity to leadership ranks despite stated intentions to do so. There's an amazing amount of black talent out there, said Ken Bacon, former mortgage industry executive who was on the boards of Comcast Corp., Ally Financial Incorporated, and Welltower Incorporated. If people say they can't find the talent, they either aren't looking hard enough or they don't want to find it. Bacon said he was shocked and puzzled by Scharf's comments. So, yeah. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that. Probably shouldn't have. And I've never really been in a hiring position in a big city or a big corporate firm like that, so I don't know what the statistics are for who comes in, who makes the cut, and who doesn't. I have no idea what the statistics are, but, I mean, any hiring decision should be colorblind. The people should be judged on what they bring to the table, not the color of their skin. Why are we getting back to this point where people are being judged by the color of their skin? How is this happening? But we will see that going forward. And, well, prepare to see more of this. From the New York Post, woman accused of mailing ricin to Trump identified as Pascal Ferrier. From Aaron Steinbuch. The Canadian woman accused of sending a letter containing ricin to President Trump has been identified as Pascal Ferrier of Quebec, authorities said. Ferrier was taken into custody Sunday by U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents at the Peace Bridge border crossing near Buffalo, New York, where she is expected to appear in federal court to face charges. She was supposed to appear in court Monday, but her appearance was delayed until Tuesday afternoon, according to a spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office, according to CBC. Ferrier had been living in the U.S. last year and was arrested in Mission, Texas in March 2019 for using a fake driver's license, according to court records cited by the news outlet. She pleaded not guilty and spent 20 days in the slammer before the charge was eventually dismissed because it was her first offense, CBC reported. On Monday, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police searched a condo in St. Hubert in Montreal's South Shore in connection with the ricin-laced envelopes. Doesn't this look like a pleasant woman? I'm not going to lie, I first saw this image and I thought that was a dude. I was wondering why they were talking about the woman who mailed the ricin when they showed a dude. I don't know. Maybe it's a dude that identifies as a woman. I have no idea. Maybe it's a woman that identifies as a dude. But, yeah, we've got a face to go along with the ricin thing. Let's keep going. From Newsweek. Donald Trump announces ban on sex and race-based ideologies extends to companies with government contracts. Yeah, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can tell another company how to run their HR. Pretty sure that extends beyond your purview as the president. In the Trump administration, there's got to be some guy. I know that he doesn't like dissent, but there's got to be some guy in there whose job is to just look at the decisions that the Donald makes and says, no, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry, you can't actually do that. No, what do you mean I can't do that? I'm the president, I can do anything. No, sir, there's a constitution that limits your power. No, I want to end critical race theory for private companies. Let's see what Jeffrey Martin has to say. President Trump signed an executive order on Tuesday which prohibits government contractors from providing employees with training that promotes stereotyping because of race or sex. Trump's order calls for the banning of training centered on the concept that some individuals are superior because of their race or sex. Federal grant money will no longer be used to fund such training. A few weeks ago, I banned efforts to indoctrinate government employees with divisive and harmful sex and race-based ideologies, President Trump tweeted. Today, I've expanded that ban to people and companies that do business with our country, the U.S. military, government contractors, and grantees. Excuse me. Americans should be taught to take pride in our great country, Trump continued, and if you don't, there's nothing in it for you. Yeah, no, you can't do that. That's against the Constitution. Now, you can have your lawyers reevaluate the contracts and possibly nullify the contracts or not renew them in the next year if the contractors do insist on using critical race theory. You can dangle the carrot, but if they're not directly in the employ of the federal government, you can't use the fucking stick. It just doesn't work that way. So, no. You can't do that. Alright. Next one here. From the New York Post, Representative Matt Gaetz, Bloomberg may face criminal probe for paying felons' fines, from Emily Jacobs. Representative Matt Gaetz warned billionaire Michael Bloomberg that he may be facing a criminal probe for paying outstanding fines and fees of 32,000 convicted felons in Florida so they could regain their right to vote ahead of the November election. Speaking to Fox News' Hannity Tuesday evening, Gaetz said that he had spoken to Florida's Attorney General Ashley Moody prior to his appearance on the show about Bloomberg's voter efforts in the Sunshine State. On Tuesday, it was reported that the former New York City mayor had raised over $16 million for and donated $5 million to the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Bloomberg's push would benefit ex-cons as part of a 2018 state constitutional amendment allowing felons who have served their time to regain their right to vote. Before they can regain that right, however, they need to pay any fines, fees, or restitution. In a statement to Axios, a representative for Bloomberg said, "The right to vote is fundamental to our democracy, and no American should be denied that right. Working together with the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, we are determined to end disenfranchisement and the discrimination that has always driven it." To Gaetz and Moody, however, there are legal concerns regarding Bloomberg's political spending in the specific case. "I believe there may be a criminal investigation already underway of the Bloomberg-connected activities in Florida," Gaetz told Sean Hannity. Under Florida law, it's a third-degree felony for someone to either directly or indirectly provide something of value to impact whether or not someone votes. So the question is whether or not paying off someone's fines and legal obligations counts as something of value, and it clearly does. If Michael Bloomberg was offering to pay off people's credit card debts, you would obviously see the value in that. Yes, that is an interesting, and if they're doing it in Florida especially, and that is against the law, then yes, that's going to be some hell to pay for Bloomberg. Now, should these fines be being paid? Yes, absolutely. But it's really interesting to me, and I wanted to bring this up because LeBron James is actually doing the same thing in a few other states. They're going out and finding the states where you get your right to vote back if you're done with your conviction, if you've paid your debt to society, which that's on a state level to decide whether or not you want to do. That's between you and the states essentially. But with that, yes, they are providing something of value with an attempt to bribe people to vote. And it's interesting to me the fact that the left has been screaming in this country about money in politics since the Reagan administration. That's all they've been screaming about for that, is get the big money out of politics. But now that Bloomberg wants to put big money in politics for their side, including millions of dollars to go off and buy votes like this, that's a lot of hypocrisy right there. Plus, all of the other situations where Bloomberg has said that he's going to spend billions of dollars into this election. Because if Bloomberg is putting billions of dollars into the election, it's okay. They have no problem with that. But God forbid the Koch brothers do something. Here's something interesting to keep in mind as well. I mean, Donald Trump is a give or a take for me at this point. He's done some good stuff, he's done some bad stuff. But one of the best things that he did was being self-made on everything, with having a bunch of money and not being able to be bought off by special interests the way that he has. And even though they keep trying to claim that he's being bought off by special interests, he really isn't, and there's no way for a special interest to buy him off at this point. One of the best things about this particular presidency is you don't have to turn on every left-wing news outlet right now and hear, Koch brothers! Koch brothers! But hey, there's Bloomberg still. Alright, I got just a few more here, and then we'll do something that I'm thankful for and head out of here. From the Daily Wire, Hunter Biden received millions from wife of ex-Moscow mayor, paid suspect allegedly tied to trafficking, had contacts with Chinese military, Senate report alleges. From Ryan Saavedra. A bombshell report from the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs and the Committee on Finance makes a series of damning new allegations against Hunter Biden, the son of Democrat presidential nominee. The investigation, launched after Finance Committee Chairman Charles Grassley publicly raised conflict of interest concerns about the sale of a U.S. company to a Chinese firm with ties to Hunter Biden a month before Congress was notified about a whistleblower complaint that was the catalyst for Democrats' impeachment of President Donald Trump. The Senate's investigation relied on records from the U.S. government, Democrats' lobbying groups, and interviews of numerous current and former officials. Key findings of the investigation include, in early 2015, the acting deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, Ukraine, George Kent, raised concerns to officials in Vice President Joe Biden's office about the perception of a conflict of interest with respect to Hunter Biden's role on Burisma's board. Kent's concerns went unaddressed, and in September of 2016, he emphasized in an email to his colleagues, furthermore, the presence of Hunter Biden on the Burisma board was very awkward for all U.S. officials pushing an anti-corruption agenda in Ukraine. In October of 2015, a senior State Department official, Amos Hochstein, raised concerns with Vice President Biden as well as Hunter Biden that Hunter Biden's position on Burisma's board enabled Russia disinformation efforts and risked undermining U.S. policy in Ukraine. So, I mean, there's plenty of other stuff here too, so I'm not going to go all into detail with this. I will put this article in the Discord for you guys to read the transcript from this, but yes, it does appear that there was a bunch of money that was to be made pretty much by Hunter having the last name Biden. Alright. From The Blaze, man demands parents choose between Trump signs in their yard and seeing their grandkids. It spectacularly backfires, and now he's sorry. From Sarah Taylor, writer Leo Guinan went viral after sharing a personal anti-Trump anecdote Friday on Medium, revealing that he told mother and father that they would have to choose between having Trump 2020 sign in their front yard and seeing their son and grandchildren. Guinan received heavy pushback over the piece and admitted that he made a mistake publishing a follow-up entry Monday revealing that he was sorry for what he told his family. The original article titled, "Today I Gave My Dad a Choice, Trump or His Grandkids and His Son." Guinan revealed that his father had the audacity to place a pro-Trump sign in his front yard. Guinan was apparently so upset and offended that he told his father that he would not be visiting with his children until he removed the offending sign from the property. Guinan, who said he was really pissed over the move, said he sent his father and mother a text message. Hands shaking, tears in eyes. "This is what it said," he wrote, "due to the signs in the yard. The kids and I will not be down. The current occupant of the White House is preaching hate and violence, endangering the lives of safety and many of his friends. This is not acceptance to me at all. This is a complete disregard for women, minorities, science and ethics, and morality. Please consider if you support Trump that much, because I hate him that much. I wanted to be upfront and honest about my feelings." So we're going to skip everything else that he said off of this. And what did he say in his follow-up post? In a follow-up post entitled "How to Fail at Everything," Guinan said he wanted to go viral, his apology to his father. "I took an emotional moment in my life and framed it in a specific way because I wanted to trigger a response," he wrote. And he did. He received a mostly negative response, which he admitted was unsurprising. "I was trying to prevent others from being manipulated by manipulating them," he reasoned. "And I was doing so because I had the ability to through social networks. And I let that go to my head. I'm sorry to everyone who experienced that. It made me realize the incredible destructive power that social media can provide." Guinan added that the posting sucked me into doing the same behaviors I was fighting. "I apologized to my dad in person," he revealed. "I screwed up with him. I own that. And I'm okay with making mistakes because that is the best way to learn. But my dad did teach me growing up that it is better to own your mistakes and to make them right. I screwed up by trying to influence others through social media," Guinan continued. "I'm sorry that I influenced your thoughts and actions via social media. I deleted all of my social media accounts. They were toxic to my life." Which meant that he got enough pushback that it was starting to threaten his job. And now he wants to try and make sure that he continues to make money. I mean, I commented on this asshole's post, and it was... That's one thing that you have to remember. The presidency should not affect your life this much. Nothing in the federal government should. And your family is going to be with you forever. They may not always agree. I've lost out on some members of my family, for one reason or another, because of disagreements, and I choose not to spend time with certain members of my family because of disagreements. But I can always reach out to them and still try to bury the hatchet. Your family will always be there. This presidency is going to pass. Hopefully sooner than later, but this presidency is going to pass. We'll probably see another 4 years of it. It's going to pass. Hopefully, Congress realizes how toxic the presidency was and starts to rein in some of the powers that they granted carte blanche to the presidency, and hopefully we get some more federalism out of this because state governments realize they don't want to be beholden to the federal government. Hopefully, the Donald, for all of his faults, can turn this country around, get the economy back going, and get states so pissed off at him that they start to pull back some of their power from the federal government as well. But this presidency is going to end. But you are still going to have your father and your children. And that's something to keep in mind. The federal government does not need to be this pervasive in your life. Speaking of the federal government being too pervasive in things that they have no business being pervasive in. From Politico, DeVos under investigation for potentially violating the Hatch Act because of Fox News interview. You know how you prevent DeVos from violating the Hatch Act? Eliminate the Federal Department of Education. Boom. Done. Nothing else you have to worry about. From Daniel Littman and Michael Stratford. The Office of the Special Counsel has started investigating Education Secretary Betsy DeVos for potentially violating the Hatch Act after she slammed Joe Biden in a Fox News interview, and her agency promoted it through official channels. The head of investigative watchdog blog Checks and Balances Project, Scott Peterson, said in an interview that the OSC Hatch Act attorney, Eric Johnson, told him that he'd been assigned to investigate the matter. "We'll investigate the matters in your complaint," Johnson told Peterson, recounting the conversation. The incident seems very well documented. Johnson also told him that because of remote work prompted by the coronavirus pandemic, the timeline for the investigation is uncertain. DeVos would become one of the most high-profile Trump officials known to have been investigated for violating the Hatch Act. It depends on what the OSC finds. She would be the second member of the Trump cabinet to be found to have violated the law. At least 12 Trump senior officials have violated the Hatch Act, according to the OSC, the independent agency that probes possible violations. In most cases, the office decided that the violation was minor enough to merit only a warning letter. Only one case, that of former senior counselor Kellyanne Conway, was sent to President Trump for action, and he didn't act on it. So, for those of you who don't know, the Hatch Act prevents employees of the federal government, of the executive branch, from using their official channels for political reasons, and promoting the interview through official channels for the Department of Education, where DeVos slammed Joe Biden, is remotely orbital to being a violation of the Hatch Act. Technically, it is. But that is the biggest stretch that you have to find to get that in there. But once again, I'm no friend to DeVos. That whole department needs to just be shut the fuck down, because that should be a local issue. That should always have been a local issue. There is no need to have a federal Department of Education. Local school boards are where your Department of Education should be. Always has been. No Child Left Behind was bullshit, and all the iterations that have followed are bullshit. Common Core is bullshit. Let the states decide, and the localities decide, what they need in their prescription of education, and let them compete with each other to try and get the best schools, so people move to get the best schools and give tax money to the best schools. So, hey, like I said, the best way to keep Betsy DeVos from violating the Hatch Act is shut the Department of Education down. All right, last one here. From the New York Post, Robert Kraft likely to get off in Florida massage parlor case from Jorge Fitzgibbon. Looks like New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft is going to beat his Florida sex solicitation. Yeah, I get mushmouthed after that hour mark, and we're already on 75 minutes just about. Prosecutors said Monday that they won't challenge an appeals court ruling that banned them from using a surveillance video from inside the Orchids of Asia Day Spa against Kraft, which all but killed their sex for cash case against the billionaire NFL owner, ESPN reported. Based on the analysis after consultation with the prosecuting state attorney's office, the decision was made not to seek further discretionary review, said Kylie Mason, a spokeswoman for the state attorney general's office, according to the review. Kraft's attorney declined to comment on the decision, but asked in a court motion filed Monday that the video be destroyed. Only by ordering the state to destroy the video and comply with the interim measures securing them can the court guard against the palpable risk of further leak or misuse and correspondingly vindicate the constitutional principles and the rights that are at stake at the case, Kraft's lawyer, Frank Shepard, wrote in the motion. I don't know why this makes big news, but because Robert Kraft is a big name mogul and a bunch of stuff, I can see why they might want to do this, but I mean, what the guy wants to do in his personal life, as long as it's legal, is no business of mine. Now, yes, sex for cash would not be legal at this point, but I don't know. Everything is stupid this year. Everything was stupid last year. This has been a stupid administration, only seconded to the stupid administration that we had prior to that, which was only seconded to the stupid administration we had prior to that. Let's just stop letting the federal government be this big of a part of our lives and move on with our days. We're a free people. The Constitution was meant to keep the government in check and out of our lives, not intend them to grow and be pervasive over our lives. So, good on Robert Kraft. Good on him for getting out of this. And stop going to massage parlors. That's all I can recommend to you. All right. And that's going to be it for the news today. And the last thing we do on Wednesday is something that I'm thankful for. And I've been giving a lot of thought to this and a lot of thought to some of the things that have been happening around my life. Now, Wisconsin did not do the same lockdown levels that New York, Michigan, Illinois, Colorado, California, Washington State, Oregon. We didn't do the lockdowns that a lot of people around us did. Minnesota was another one that did a bunch of the lockdowns. We didn't do a bunch of these lockdowns like a bunch of these places did. So I was, for the most part, able to keep going to work and keep supplying myself. Some office positions got locked down, but for the most part, the kind of work that I do didn't get locked down. I kept going to work, kept being able to pay my bills, and everything's remained good for me. And I look back to where it was in my 20s. Under the Obama administration, I'll point out completely, but the way it was in my 20s. And it would have been very easy for me to give up at that point. To go be homeless, maybe even go on a more drastic step, but just with no jobs around, except for little part-time jobs here and there. With no jobs around, barely able to keep the roof over my head, up until I was 30. Giving up would have been the easy option. But it wasn't. It wasn't meant to be. And I kept moving forward. And the thing I'm thankful for is the fact that it gets better. That we're not a socialist country. We have unlimited resources because capitalism keeps our resources unlimited. And even if there is a downturn to the point where you can't find work, it's going to be temporary. If you can be wise with your money, be wise with your purchases, buy a $500 beater, live in a poor neighborhood if you need to, be wise with your actions, you can weather most any storm. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful to live in a country where that is the case, where all of your downturns appear to be temporary. And it will get better for you as time goes on. If you find yourselves in hard times and hard times of trouble, don't be like Lenin and whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Just wait it out a little bit. Get smart with the way that you're spending your money and wait it out. Because somewhere down the road, you're going to see another upturn again. And that's what I'm thankful for, is the fact that you see, that you can see people's lives turning around. And yes, other people are finding themselves in times of trouble. Other people aren't wise with their decisions. But if you take the time and you're responsible to yourself, your family, and responsible with your life, you will see a turnaround. And that's going to be it. So, we will be back here tomorrow with more contemporary, and tomorrow night will be gaming night, so I'm going to see what we can do to finish off New Vegas. I know we have like 1 or 2 episodes left, because we don't have that many locations left, and we're far enough into the main quest that we don't have to go very much further. So, I'm going to say probably 2 more episodes of New Vegas, and then we can play a different game. We can play a different game. Aren't you excited to play something different than fucking Fallout? Now, I love Fallout, but there's so many other games out there. There's so much more variety, and we are almost done. I promise you, we're almost done. So, I do hope to see you tomorrow night, and I hope to see you tomorrow morning for more contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.